Hey all, it's Horse Thief. Wanted to bring you a slightly different kind of video today. This one was an SBB99 lobby. They ran a group of lobbies Saturday night for SBB99, and so I played a handful of games, and I just kind of wanted to dive into one of these games and my mindsets that go into SBB99 because it's a little bit different than a ladder game. So you saw initially at the Hero Select, I pretty rapidly scooped up the Tiger. I'm really on Hero Select looking for a hero that somehow interacts potentially unfairly with treasures. So I'm kind of thinking in an SBB99 lobby that by the end of it, I'm going to need to be able to beat Hatball Fork. I'm going to need to be able to put together a board potent enough to combat a Hatball Fork, because while many people will miss throughout the course of the game, not that many people, at least someone's going to hit something. And presumably at least one player should have a line on a Hatball Fork and should have a line pretty early. And I would like to be the player that gets that myself, but also you can't necessarily just expect to hit Hatball Fork. So I'm going to navigate these level 2 levels, thinking about Frog Princes, thinking about, in this case, the shops weren't all that generous. And so I just kind of took whatever out of each shop looked like it would fight roughly the best. I'm doing my best to get some stats on the front line so that things could potentially trade favorably. But even getting here into level 3, this isn't it. So level 3, maybe if I could flip a couple of Frog Princes and put some 5/5s down, that'd be a good way to put a strong board together, save a little bit of health. Also, one main strategy I'm using quite a bit right now is playing evil things with a Queen of Hearts, but this board isn't really showing me that. So early on in an SBB99 lobby, I really am not thinking about the early game too much other than how do I maintain a little bit of health? How do I put down a board strong enough to fight the other boards that I'm going to be bumping into? This game has not been particularly generous, but I did get a lucky, so I have a little bit of economy, and I do finally get to flip this frog on this turn. The start of this game's not going great. I'm also not really picking up a lot of level 3 characters at this moment in time, so Hatball Fork is looking pretty far away. So I'm just going to take stuff like the Shepherd's Sling, and I'm going to keep thinking about things that will allow me to cheat out higher level treasures a little bit more quickly, because I'm expecting if I'm going to beat Hatball Fork, I need not just a Radiant Prism. I need a Radiant Prism and a Round Table. I need multiple level 7 treasures to get over the top of what could amount to a board full of 2,000 attack mages, you know, 2,000, 4,000, something in those ranges. The Signs of the Storm get quite large. The range characters can have 2,000 attack. So on Tiger specifically, one of the reasons why I picked it and why I like it is you have a couple of mechanics that can help you spike those level 7 treasures. And I'm really, really focused on playing around with my, what I'm going to call level 7 treasure equity. As long as I can use these spike mechanics, these treasure level boosting mechanics to find higher level treasures and not just settle for a 5 or a 6, as long as each one of them gives me a chance. On Tiger, I have a chance for multiple. So most heroes, you could get a runestone, you could combine a level 6 character, turn that into a level 7 treasure. That would be one chance. The second chance would be a treasure map, and then combine 5s or 6s, and turn that into another level 7 treasure. You're only really going to have selections for 2, and then your third way to get there is through a Pandora's box. That'll, if you know, you get a level 6 treasure, it's Pandora's box. That'll open up into a level 7. So your usual character, or your usual hero, only really going to be able to see 3 level 7 treasures. Tiger's got a little bit more leeway when it comes to runestones, because Tiger gets a +2 on that, so it's a little bit easier to turn 5s into 7s. Nobody else does that with runestones except for, well, Horde Dragon. But also, Tiger has a really good line on 7s through Noble Steed. So because I have not found a quick Hatball, I'm not really thinking Hatball anymore. And in this spot in particular, I'm looking at this sarcophagus going, Tiger's Sarco, double 3 shots is a good way to maintain a little bit of health. And I've taken a little bit of punishment early in this game. People have put stronger things together for those early turns than I managed to. And so now I'm just going, okay, we hit level 4. I just need to save some health right now, and I need to give myself a line on runestones or treasure map. And the locked chest is a real good one. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this locked box, you know, turn or two ago when I picked it last turn, I suppose, because it's still got 2 turns left to open. And of course, one of the big things that you like to do on Tiger is if you can get an early locked chest that opens into a treasure map, and then the treasure map gives you +2 normally, but because you're Tiger, it gives you +4 levels on your next treasure. If you can get that on the first proc of the locked chest opening, you get a map into a 3, well, that 3 gets +4, so the locked chest just gives you 1 level 7 treasure, if everything goes right. And of course, when I made the sarcophagus, I was thinking, well, if this is my treasure map, when the box opens, I'll just get my 7 right there. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, how do I get enough power down on the board to fight up and not just die in the process, but also how do I get these high level treasures that are going to start to manipulate stats in ways that are more than, say, like a Light Fang just naturally adding +2 to all your characters or +4. So here's an interesting spot where the chest opens and I kind of want to thin the pool. I've got no ranged characters, but I take the Telltale Quiver anyway. I take just one of those things just to get it out of the level 3 treasure pool, because once you select a level 3 treasure, you will never see it again. So I took it knowing I didn't even want it, just because I knew I was going to see a second option, because when the box opens, because I'm Tiger, it doesn't just show me one thing, it shows me 2 things. And I'm hoping that if I pull Quiver out of the way, then the treasure map will pop up in the next one. Treasure map does pop up in the next one, so now I'm kind of in that spot that I've been looking to get set up here. I'm looking to get my first big treasure hit for this game. SBB99 in particular, it can feel really good to hit top 8. It can feel really good to hit top 5. It certainly doesn't feel bad, but for me, the way that I like to play, and especially the way I like to play SBB99, I want to go for a line on winning the whole thing. I want to have an angle on winning the entire lobby. And here I bump into a Fates that is just too big for me to handle. That is just way too strong. Can't fight up against that. So now I can't combine any of these 2s. I've been saving some pairs of 2s because I've been thinking about runestones, like I mentioned. But if I do 2s, the treasure map will +4 it. It'll give me a 6, and I don't want a 6 anymore. I want a 7. So now I need to start finding some things that either play well with the sarcophagus. 3 Big Pigs plays great with the sarcophagus. And I also need to find pairs or triples of things that are 3 or higher. So I'm going to start ditching level 2 things off my board because I have no intention of playing them. That was a funny moment where I noticed that I didn't see the Kraken, you know, the Devour spell in the shop. And I could have just devoured and sold 1 less thing. And I noticed it when I was selling the last of my things that I wanted to sell and went, well, I guess I still devour it just for a roll. But that's one of those things that I'll end up overlooking more often than I'd like to. So here we bump into another Tiger who has done what I wanted to do. They found themselves a level 7 treasure. But I think because they were so low health, I'm also pretty low health at this point. They made the prudent decision, which can be a very prudent decision, to go ahead and turn that into a Fairy Queen's Wand, which is basically a full board monkey pot. And because they've done it, it's a very strong tempo treasure. Their board's better than mine for that fight. But also, because they've picked that Fairy Queen's Wand for one of their few level 7 treasures, they might not have very many more chances to get like a Radiant Prism or a Round Table, one of those big stat booster treasures. So here we go. Found it. Got my first level 7 treasure, the thing I've been hunting for this entire time. It's interesting because if I were a Horde Dragon, I'd be real interested in the Holy Grail because I would spend the next turn attempting to level. But in this spot, I'm actually thinking, you know what, let's get that Radiant Prism because I have these Arthurs down, and now all of my characters are going to trigger sarcophagus shots. And I've got a couple of summons, and I pick up that Baby Bear this turn because it triggers even more sarcophagus shots. Because I have Arthur, everything's a royal, so anything that I've got on the board that's already upgraded is going to get some passive Arthur scaling, which will give it a little bit more power to my board overall. And my board, just from the Radiant Prism here, and due to some of the things I had in picking up that Baby Bear, gets a lot stronger this combat. But I'm not necessarily strong yet. I haven't taken any XP because I've been on the back foot. I took too much damage early. And so because I haven't taken any XP, I'm starting to think about people are going to 6 before me. Man, I love this Ambrosia. Weirdly, that one was kind of tricky because being low, normally I'd prioritize something like Sword of Fire and Ice. But because I have the Arthur, and I can continue to Arthur scale everything that's already upgraded on my board. The Ambrosia is adding a fair few extra stats. But again, I'm thinking about, some people are probably level 6, and some people have probably already started to collect pieces of a tree comp. People are probably starting to get boards that have more like 30, 30, 40, 40 stats across the board. And this is the very first fight where I bump into somebody who's got something with a lot of numbers on it. And I'm looking at my board and I'm going, I don't have a lot of attack. That Tweedle has 71 HP. My board doesn't have the right kind of stuff to crack through high health characters at this moment in time. The sarcophagus shots are great, but they'll only take you so far. I get a lucky 50-50 at the end there so that I can end up tying that one. But now I'm a little bit concerned. I've got the potential to do more, but I'm not even Horde Dragon, so it's not like I can easily combine 6s and find myself a round table if I were to pick up an Ashwood Elm. And an Ashwood Elm in and of itself right now would add a fair amount of attack to my board, but not a lot of toughness, right? It's only adding attack across the board, but I do need to find some kind of mechanism to get my attack boosted. So I'm here and I'm looking through these shops and I'm going, I need an Ashwood. I would take that for sure. I need a Lordy. I need one of the things that can very much take advantage of the Radiant Prism effect. I'd love to combine this Arthur so that it could start getting stats, but I also don't feel like I can quite drop the Arthur off the board because it is helping get some of my units a little bit more beefed up. So I don't find what I'm looking for. I take the big pigs. It's extra sarcophagus shots. I really am going to have to rely on that sarcophagus if things are going to go well for me right now, because I just don't have a ton of attack. It's still the big problem I'm tackling right now. Not a lot of attack. But then the secondary problem I'm tackling is in the back of my mind going, how do I get this board into a state where it's going to compete with round table boards or with Hatball Fork boards? Because I expect to see a big round table board. I expect to see a big Hatball Fork board. And this board right here is pretty strong, but I've got just enough to go ahead and take this combat. So, same situation as last turn. I need to get the power boosted here, and I would love to get a Court Wizard. I actually stare at these Court Wizards. I cut, you know, a little bit of my decision-making time down a bit just for the sake of the video being a little bit concise. But the problem with the Court Wizard is I don't have a Lordy. I don't have an Ashwood. They have no attack. A 4-attack Court Wizard going over and over and over again. It's not like I have a Spear of Achilles. 4 damage is just not a lot of damage. And I've been thinking about this damage thing the entirety of the last couple of turns, and I finally get the good boy, but I'm looking at the good boy, and it's like, that's a 2-2 board buff. It's not even doing much. Like, it's adding, you know, 12 stats across the board, big deal. So I'm like, if attack is the big thing that I need to tackle right now, probably should take this Aeon, and like, if I can't seem to find an Ashwood, or I can't seem to find a Lordy to get my stats up in a more reliable fashion, let's at least play some spells and get some Aeon scaling going. And I noticed that Dream at the end of the turn, and there are some characters that I'm very interested in dreaming into, including Horde Dragon, because I suspect I'm going to need my pick of the litter of several level 7 treasures if I'm going to get there. And this Trophy Hunter just terrified me. That Friendly Spirit getting to slay, adding its buff onto the Baba in the back line, absolutely terrifying. But looks like I've got just enough shenanigans through the sarcophagus to get there. Actually coming down to a clutch 50-50 at the end to not take damage. And I dream. It was all a dream. I play the spell, and I find the Horde Dragon. So now I'm looking for more level 7 treasures. That's what I want to find. I want to find my round table. And then I find the big hit, one of the 2 big stat buffers. So Radiant Prism loves Lordy, Radiant Prism loves Ashwood Elm, and they love them in conjunction with Good Boy. And having that Ambrosia slot from earlier in the game, just being able to drop the Lordy in there, my board now looks so much different than it did before. I lose the double sarcophagus shots in the process, but what I gain more than makes up for it. And you can tell that it was just in the nick of time, because this is a big tree board, and if I had run into that without that Lordy in the back, the double sarcophagus was not chipping through all of that. There's just no way. I wouldn't have got there. So the Lordy arrives at the perfect moment. Timeliest of fashions for that Lordy. And so here, I don't know in retrospect if I really love picking up the second Aeon, because I'm still kind of stuck in the past where my attack was terribly lacking. But if I buy the Ashwood, and I roll, I won't be able to really easily afford a whole lot more without selling off the Aeon. I'm still kind of stuck on everything's a mage, and the Aeon is getting the attack up on everything. But now my board is in much better shape with that that Ambrosia Lordy. So I don't know if picking up that Aeon makes a ton of sense in retrospect. I don't think it was terrible, but I don't know that it was like ridiculously helpful for my endgame goal. But at least it is adding attack with every spell I play. Another interesting decision point right there is Ashwood versus Lordy in the Ambrosia slot. Both of them are valid, but you kind of need a little bit of information about the boards you're going against. If you're going against big trees, you kind of probably want to stick the Ashwood in the Ambrosia slot. If you're going against things with a lot of scam, you might need more stats across your board. So if you need to chunk through a bunch of HP, you probably need more attack. But if you need to survive a bunch of things coming and hitting you over and over and over again that might have lower health themselves, then you probably just need a bunch more HP, a bunch more toughness across your board. So we hit the upgraded Aeon. That's kind of cool. I mean, I can throw the Candy Rain. That's fine. Opt to go ahead and take the Ivory Owl. The level 6 treasure selection there really not helping me out a whole lot, but the Sarcophagus really hasn't done much work the last few fights. The throwing a couple of 3 shots across the board isn't really doing much, so opt to take the Ivory Owl. It's just going to keep getting me thicker over time. And I go ahead for whatever reason and decide that I want to play the Aeon, or I want to get a little bit more. Instead of playing both Ashwoods in the spot, I decide that I'm a little concerned that the Ashwood Elm only has 15, 16 health of its own. And I'm concerned that that might not be enough health, like I need some healthier things on the board. So I opt not to play both Ashwoods here. End up in a terrifying situation. If I pop that pumpkin, that could have been 27 damage at the end of that fight. I don't know if they had a full board of evils, but if I pop that pumpkin, I am certainly dead. That was a huge 50-50. Take myself down to 1, that fight. But still alive, still kicking, still the Horde Dragon, still working on pairs of level 6s, still got level 7 treasures left in the hopper to go. So now I finally go, okay, if we get the round table, which is what we've been looking for, it's time to go ahead and get rid of that crafty. It's not doing anything. And here, I do kind of debate. I want to keep the owl around, I do, but that Ambrosia on an Ashwood Elm, Round Table loves Ashwood Elm more than any other card in the game. And being able to Ambrosia one of these Ashwoods is so many stats spread out across the board. So I opt to keep the Ambrosia, stick the Ashwood in position 7 in the Ambrosia slot, and now with the Round Table, my board is looking a lot different. We've gone from one level of power spike into a next level of power spike. But because I've dropped the Ivory Owl, not consistently getting bigger on a turn-by-turn basis. So now I'm looking for more Ashwood Elms. I wouldn't mind finally getting a Court Wizard down, because now a Court Wizard would have a ton of attack. And I'm also looking for an Echo Wood, which I finally find and pick up. And this is an interesting shop. This one took me an extra second to think about, because the Lordy's pretty good, but the Lordy isn't as absurd with the Round Table as an Ashwood Elm. It is consistently boosting the stats across my board, but I don't know if I want to spend 6 gold at the start of the next combat. Oh, and they had a Ring of Meteors, and I play a Poison Apple into their Ring of Meteors board. And this board is big. That's a big tree board, especially without a Round Table at play. It's kind of wild. I just made a huge comp over there. And we're in the top 8 now, top 7 left, right? And after this fight, it'll be fewer. But this is the stage of this game where you expect to see Round Table boards. You expect to see just, like, big boards. And wouldn't you know it, 2 Horde Dragons. The ghost I'm about to fight is a Horde Dragon. And somehow a Grandmother. And we have not seen, as much as I plan for and want to play around and look for Hatball Fork, we haven't seen a Hatball Fork board. Problem with that is, with Hatball Fork, you got to get the Hatball. If you're going to get a SBB99 crown with Hatball Fork, you do still have to get all that in a timely fashion, because it takes a lot of turns to brew all the stats, and you're looking for a fair number of units to put down on your board to get all those stats. So you do still need an aspect of time. Now here's a spot where, in retrospect, I didn't even notice I misplayed. I thought about this. I went back and forth because I'm thinking about sticking the Court Wizard down, but what I'm not seeing, I'm looking at it going, I don't really want to drop the Lordy, that's too many stats. I don't really want to drop the Echo Wood, that's too many stats. I don't really want to drop the Sure Shot, it's the biggest thing on my board. That Court Wizard was better than the Sure Shot. it was going to be, you know, maybe 50 fewer stats, but everything's 140, 140 at its smallest. So 140, 140 Court Wizard beats a 190, 190 Sure Shot every day of the week. It could have certainly been placed on the board in lieu of that Sure Shot, but I also have quite a powerful treasure combination here, and I'm not terribly concerned about a ghost. So here we are. We get to the top 2 situation, and I'm thinking it's about time to get rid of the Ambrosia because I've got the Ashwood upgraded. Now, there was a thought given at that point to being able to stick the Lordy in the Ambrosia slot, but I definitely had wanted to save for that Court Wizard. I definitely wanted to upgrade that Ashwood. Pretty easy decisions from where I was sitting. And I like the Cat's Call in this spot quite a bit because it just should give my backline a lot more time to do what my backline wants to do. Now that is a 4,000 health Echo Wood across the board over there. Bump into a 100 Sword Radiant Prism Round Table Horde Dragon while I'm playing a Mirror Mirror Radiant Prism Round Table Horde Dragon. And the Mirror Mirror was just too spicy to pass up. Now this is terrifying. There's not a lot of scam, but look at that Poison Apple Tree. I'm sitting there and I'm staring at it and I'm sweating that thing. But ultimately, I went back and I did the math and I realized based on the fight sequence, it wasn't going to harm me. But this last combat is just beautiful. And my Echo gets up to so much HP and the cats come in and we got 1,200 attack cats. It was wonderful. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. This is what it takes to get a crown in SBB99.